I have been a baker for 25 years. My name is Martin, and I own a small bakery on Willow Street. It's called Sweet Crumbs. It used to be busy, full of happy people buying bread, muffins, and cakes. But lately, fewer and fewer people came in. Maybe it was the new supermarket down the road. Or maybe people just forgot how nice it is to have warm, fresh bread made with care. Every night, I looked at the shelves filled with leftovers, muffins that no one bought, loaves of bread that were still soft but unsold. I couldn't throw them away. So I started giving them to anyone who needed food, especially to one old man. He sat on the park bench across the street. Every evening, he would be there, wearing a ragged old coat, with a soft smile on his face. He never begged with words, but his eyes spoke quietly. One rainy evening, I crossed the street with a brown bag full of bread and muffins. Here, I said, you look hungry. He looked surprised, but took the bag gently. The old man didn't say anything. He just nodded and held on to the bag. Leftovers, I told him, trying not to sound too sad. Better than throwing them away. Then he gave me a little smile. From that day on, I brought him food every evening. I learned his name was Joseph. He told me that he used to be a cook in a hotel kitchen. He had worked in many hotel kitchens around the world. But then things changed. He got sick, lost his job, his home, and little by little, the life he knew slipped away. Now the park is his home. We talked often. He told me stories about strange hotel guests and meals that took hours to cook. I never thought a man sitting on a bench could have such an interesting life story. Business had been slow for months, but in the last few weeks, it felt like the bakery was just holding on by a thread. Each morning, I turned the key in the lock and opened the doors with hope. But that hope grew smaller every day. Some days, I didn't even make enough to pay for flour and eggs. Bills piled up on the counter beside the cash register. Rent, electricity, supplier invoices. I watched the clock tick by and waited for footsteps that never came. The few tables and chairs stayed empty. People walked past the bakery window without a glance. The new supermarket down the street had bright lights and low prices. I couldn't compete. I started thinking about closing the bakery. What was the point of staying open when no one came in? Every night, I stared at the unsold bread, muffins, and rolls and wondered if I had made a mistake. I had put my heart into this place, each loaf kneaded by hand, each cookie shaped with care. But the world didn't seem to want what I was offering anymore. Maybe it's time to let go. I would have to walk away from the dream I had built with my own two hands. One night, I told Joseph, I might have to close Sweet Crumbs, I said, handing him the usual leftover bread. I don't think I can keep going, I said, sitting down beside him. The bakery isn't making enough money to stay open. He looked at me quietly for a moment. Then with his calm eyes, He said, maybe it's time for something new, or maybe you need one good recipe. One recipe can't save a bakery, Joseph. It can, he said, eyes twinkling, if it's the right one. I have an old recipe, he said. I used to make it for a banquet. People loved it so much. They asked for it every year. Try it. He told me the recipe for something called honey cloud bread. I had never heard of it. The ingredients were simple: flour, eggs, cream, honey, a pinch of nutmeg, and a method that involved whipping the egg whites just right, folding the batter gently, and baking it until it turned golden and soft. I don't know, I said. Sounds fancy. It's not fancy, Joseph said. It's comfortingly sweet and soft. That night, after cleaning the bakery, I decided to try it. I didn't expect anything special, but when the bread came out of the oven, the smell made me stop in my tracks. It was sweet and warm, with just a hint of spice. I cut a piece and tasted it. It was light, so light it melted in my mouth. The honey added a soft sweetness, and the nutmeg gave it a little surprise. I smiled without meaning to. The next morning, I made a few loaves and put them on the counter. I cut some into small pieces so people could try a free sample. Then, around 9 a.m., a customer walked in and asked, "What's that smell?" I pointed at the honey cloud bread. She tried a sample and bought one loaf. Then came another customer and another. By noon, the loaves were all gone. The next day, I made more. People came in asking for the cloud bread. One woman said she hadn't tasted anything like it since her grandmother's kitchen. A man bought 4 loaves for his office. Each day, I made more, and each day, I sold out. Soon, I had to get up earlier just to keep up. People came from other neighborhoods. A food blogger posted a photo, and suddenly, there was a line out the door. I made sure to save a loaf every night for Joseph. But one evening, he wasn't on the bench. I waited, watching the empty spot. The next day, still no Joseph. I asked around, but no one had seen him. Days passed, then weeks, and I started to worry. I missed him more than I expected. The bakery was thriving now. I hired 2 helpers. I fixed the sign outside. People smiled when they walked in, and the air always smelled like honey and nutmeg. One morning, as I opened the shop, I found a piece of paper on the doorstep. Inside was a note in neat handwriting. Martin, I'm doing better now. A shelter took me in, and I'm helping in their kitchen. I heard about the bakery's success. I knew you could do it. Thank you for the bread, but more than that, thank you for being my friend. Keep baking. Joseph. I stood there for a long time, with the note in my hand. That day, I added a little sign next to the honey cloud bread, made with a recipe from a friend who reminded me that kindness is the best ingredient. People often asked about the story behind the bread. I told them simply that it came from someone wise and kind. And every time I baked that bread, I thought of Joseph, not only because he gave me his recipe, but because he gave me hope.
Question 1. What is the name of the bakery? A. Golden loaf. B. Sweet crumbs. C. Honey bread. 2. Why did the baker have so many leftovers? A. He baked too much so he could give some away. B. He forgot to sell them. C. The business was not doing well. 3. What did the baker do with the leftover bread? A. Threw it away. B. Gave it to a beggar. C. Sold it for half price. 4. Where did the beggar usually sit? A. In front of the bakery. B. At a bus stop. C. On a bench across the street. 5. What was the beggar's name? A. Joseph. B. Henry. C. Daniel. 6. What did Joseph used to do for work? A. A teacher. B. A cook in a hotel. C. A writer. 7. What special thing did Joseph give to the baker? A. A note. B. Money. C. A recipe. 8. What was the name of the recipe Joseph gave? A. Soft gold bread. B. Honey cloud bread. C. Magic muffins. 9. How did customers react to the new bread? A. They loved it and kept coming. B. They returned it. C. They ignored it. 10. What happened to Joseph after the bakery became popular? A. He went to a shelter. B. He opened his own bakery. C. He worked at the bakery. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe.